Here we are for another edition of Less Kevin, More Tech from UTECit.com, right?
Yep. Very important edition, by the way.
And it is an important edition, and it's one that I think strikes home for us and so many out there that it's an important cause. And so we have Micaela McGue. McGue. We have Micaela. she's like Pele. She's a first name. She's an all-world performer, so she goes by one name, right?
Exactly.
Madonna.
Pele.
See?
Ronaldo.
And Micaela.
Yep.
Luke
Micaela.
Holmes.
Not quite.
All right, so maybe we stretch it there.
Yeah.
But hey, thank you for coming in, and you are representing Bluestone.
Yeah, Bluestone Children's Center and Bluestone Voices for Autism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, Bluestone, what are the great things you're doing there?
Yeah, so Bluestone provides therapy services to kiddos with disabilities. It's not just autism. We see kiddos that are, we see babies that come in for PT that have torticollis and they're 2-3 months old. So we just provide those services and therapies to families that are in need of them. Bluestone Voices for Autism is a nonprofit that provides scholarships to families that need help paying for those therapy services. So we provide those scholarships a few times a year to those families in need. And not just for Bluestone, we give it to anybody at any clinic. So
wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Any age, any type of age?
Yeah, so it depends on the service that you are looking to get. So ABA, we do start off at about 2. It depends on when they get their diagnosis and when they're looking for those therapy services. I know for us personally, we've enrolled, I think, as young as almost 2, so just a couple months younger than that. And then PT, like I said, we get little tiny infants in there with torticollis, and then OT and speech are just kind of when they get those referrals from their pediatrician. So although our general ages are from 2 to 12, we kind of expand that. We offer counseling to not just the pediatric population, but adults as well. So it's just a whole range of ages depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, is it separate? Do you have to do things different if they're autistic for the speech, or is it the same as for anybody with the speech?
Yeah, it's the same. They come in for their evaluation to kind of see what they need, and then they implement those programs. That autism diagnosis is going to be that key factor for insurance, though. So, a kiddo might come in with a speech delay and they get 60 visits per year, where an autism diagnosis due to the parity law in the United States actually prohibits any visit caps for speech, OT, and PT.
Earlier we were talking about diagnosis, and sometimes it's early.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit older.
Yeah.
What are some things to look out for?
Sure. So for myself, I also am a parent to 2 kiddos with autism. And it's kind of just a wide range of things that you can look out for, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that is autism either. So some of the things that I noticed personally with my kiddos was that speech delay, or for my son, it was a regression. So we did have some speech from him, and then that kind of regressed after he was about 18 months old to where we weren't hearing any words, not mama, not dada. There was a while where I just wondered if I'd ever hear him talk. And,
really?
And so I guess it just kind of depends. So that speech delay, that hand flapping, developmental delays, are they walking on time? Are they crawling on time? Are they, able to do those milestones, kicking a ball and things like that? So something that we might see with a neurotypical kiddo, seeing those delays. But that doesn't necessarily mean that child does have autism too, because the two, can be separated as well. Yeah.
I think that's the hard thing. I mean, my nephew is 9 years old, just turned 9 the other day.
Yeah.
And it's tough to say, hey, we're going to go get him checked in and say this, because then you got to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people try to fight that, but I think it's imperative that they get in early and diagnose whether you do have it or not, because success treated early, there's a big impact if you get to it. I know with our dude, Davis, he's been a benefit of, early identification of that and working with the programs.
Yeah, exactly. I know for my kiddos, we started, with early intervention. My son is in a general education classroom now after doing 2.5 years of ABA speech and OT. And I really give that to him for working hard. And, because we were able to kind of start early and get him those services and whatnot, kind of set him up for that success. But I do a lot of the inquiries and tours and all of that for our kiddos coming in, and I really try to tell those families that say, their kid's 5, 6, and they're starting these services now, that even though you didn't do that earlier into intervention, you're here now. And I think that that's amazing that you're advocating for your kiddo and getting those resources now. So early intervention is important, but intervention is important in and of itself. Yeah, no matter when you can.
So you said general education.
Yeah.
So you mean public schools? Is that what we're talking about?
You can get that general education even in a private school. So general education is kind of in that same classroom where they're getting, it's kind of less support, I guess I could word it that way, where there's special education and then general education. And some schools do, specifically autism classrooms. So that general education means that he is in a class with peers that are, neurotypical or, that kind of thing where they just need that less support. He does still have an IEP though. So when he goes and he might have a meltdown or have a difficult time, he still has what they call an advocate who comes and gets him and, gives him that specific one-on-one support that he might need. Yeah.
An IEP is individual educational plan, I believe.
Sure. It's a little bit out of my realm, but I think so. Yeah.
And that's important too,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the purpose of it, we're going through it right now with my daughter too, and the purpose of it is to make sure that those kiddos legally get that support that they deserve to have in the classroom, whether that's in a special education classroom, a general education classroom, an autism classroom. And essentially what that's saying is, hey, I need a little bit more support to be successful in school. I deserve that support, and legally you guys need to provide that for, that child. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
a lot goes into it.
Yeah. I heard you say ABA a couple of times so far. So help me out with that acronym.
Sure. So ABA is Applied Behavioral Analysis. Essentially what ABA does is, figuring out, with autism spectrum disorder, that is a wide range. So what one child needs specifically, another child needs something different, whether that is support, skills, programs, goals, it all looks different. And so ABA is kind of seeing what they need to get that support. I know for us, the main goal of ABA is to get them into that school setting. And so we're doing a lot of that school readiness, as well as getting them there, whatever that looks like for success in that kiddo's life. So another big thing is seeing what that behavior is and then what caused that behavior and, kind of getting into the nitty gritty of that. Yeah.
If you said autism, I think people have a idea what that means, but what would you say would be, maybe a couple myths or a couple facts about autism that gets generally skewed out there?
Sure. So autism truly is just your brain just works differently at the end of the day. It's, I think there's a big misconception of it that if you have autism, you're not smart, you don't have skills, it's just your brain works differently. And so, we see a lot of kiddos that have their AAC devices, so they might not be able to speak, verbally, but they have their devices where they can talk that way. And so, that's another big one is nonverbal doesn't mean non-speaking. It doesn't mean that they don't understand what you're saying or anything like that. So I guess that's kind of, your brain just works differently.
Well, I can attest with my nephew. That dude's smarter than me. Not that it's a high bar, Les. I'm going to cut you off right there, okay? But it's amazing when you see these kids. It's almost like they have a photographic memory in so many of them that, you could show them a math problem. I remember a buddy of mine that had his kid, and he said, man, you need to do a chalkboard of this thing.
Yeah.
He'd see it once, and he could do it forever, you know? Or I watched my nephew. He watches everything that's going on.
Yep.
And, you could do a Rubik's Cube where you could put together, you could build a desk and he'd be able to do it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and he's 8 years old, 9 years old,
I still can't. Yeah. My son, he did those shape sorters when he was 7, 8 months old. And I just remember watching like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I have to teach that to you. And that's, they're smart kiddos, smart people. So
it's just the brain processing different.
Yeah, it just processes different. That's it. Their supports are just different than, neurotypical people. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's just like those wires just don't, you know what I mean? It's like you'd think that we could figure that out by now,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
We're getting there for sure. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you folks are doing?
Yeah,
You know?
personally in my job, sure.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of the intake. So I get those kiddos started. I'm the one that tours the families. I'm that first point of contact for them. And then following suit, I do all of their insurance verifications, checking on benefits. We fight a lot for families, although it is a law to not prohibit those visits with an autism diagnosis. That doesn't always happen. And so that's my job, is to sit and kind of fight that for our families. And then I do authorization. So if there is a visit cap, then requesting more, and that kind of thing. So
how about for the parents? I mean, you mentioned you're a parent.
Yeah.
2 children with autism, and so does Bluestone help them?
Yeah. Yes. So I say this all the time, and I truly genuinely mean it. We have some of just the best families in the whole world there. They're awesome, and they actually, get together. The moms get together once a month there and have lunch, or, I think they did Price is Right last year. Like, they get together, they're awesome, and they help support each other. But I think what's really unique about Bluestone is that although we are a business, we see the families for who they are, what they are. And I tell all of my families, we might have these initial policies in place, general guidelines, but we really try to individualize that to that specific family's needs. So our hours might be this to this, but if this family's like, I've got 4 other kids and we're doing drop off and this, we might adjust those hours for them. Just those kinds of things to make sure that they still get that support that they deserve to have for their family, their kiddo. And so, we have our billing team that's specifically fighting those denied claims and stuff, where if you're at another clinic, they don't care. They're a franchise, they're still getting their money, and then it's a big bill for the families, where we have a team that's actually sitting there digging into those, fighting those for our families and stuff. So
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's important because you've got, as a parent, you got enough of a challenge.
Yeah.
That it's good to have advocates fighting on your behalf.
And it's expensive.
To help you with insurance companies.
It's
and
so
stuff.
expensive. You have, your co-payments and deductibles, co-insurance. I will say for myself, last year alone, both of my kids did ABA. My daughter did it full year. My son did it half year. It was like $275,000 was billed out to insurance. Wow. Like, it's impossible to actually pay that and have somebody that's fighting that for you too. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And to Les's point, when you talked about for the parents, I think that's an underlooked at thing sometimes, is that there's a community there, right? And it's all good people, and you guys got there's a common battle or crusade, if you want to say, that you get to share in together, and there's support there, because it takes a village, doesn't it?
It does. And I will say, from a parent perspective, coming off of the professional side of it, it's really difficult. You want your child to succeed and to live the life that they deserve to live. And sometimes those resources just aren't there. And I tell this to my families that come in all the time. And if you're not in that world, you don't understand that world truly to the depths of it, because sometimes it is just acknowledging that, my kiddo really struggles with this. And I'll say personally, for me, for my daughter, we are trying to get her an IEP at school. She'll start preschool in the fall, and we learned, that maybe she's struggling a little bit more than we expected. And as a parent, that's really difficult to hear when, you've taken all the right steps and you've done this and you've done that, and they're still like, she just really needs that extra support. And then you kind of internalize that. So not only are you, just putting your kiddo first and trying to get them there, then you're, as a human being, trying to kind of process that yourself. And there's a lot of grief, honestly, if I'm speaking honestly, there's a lot of grief with that and what you thought that your kiddo's life might look like. And now it's just different, for your child and for yourself and your family. So,
yeah, I think that key thing I heard is it's just different.
It is. Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be.
It's challenging. It's different, but it's also so rewarding and so incredible. I remember the first time that I heard my son say, "I love you." I mean, I just never thought I'd hear that, and some people are able to do sports on the weekend and this and that. And sometimes our biggest victors are hearing our kiddo talk or use a spoon or something like that, so it's just different.
Right.
Yeah.
Or accepting a different brand of applesauce,
right? Exactly. Which that's impossible too.
I think the first thing you learn when you have an autistic kid is that you got to be careful what food you lock them onto, because they get locked onto that, And I remember we used to go to Costco and get a certain brand of applesauce, and they changed the label and they changed
it's game
applesauce.
over at that point. Yeah.
Never eat applesauce again, you know, when we've got a certain brand of microwave bacon that we have to use.
People don't really think of that either, you know. I know that's just kind of the general rule of toddlers is, you know, that kind of thing, but that's funny because it's so true, and even the packaging changing, and that's just game over. Yep.
Yeah. Now, you won't believe this, but it's true. There are different nuggets. So McDonald's nuggets are not the same
There are
as
different
Wendy's.
nuggets.
Yes, you know what I mean? And,
you know what? I'm almost 30 years old, and I kind of agree with that one, okay?
well, if you look at me, I was impartial to any chicken nugget put in front of me.
So we get let's talk about the food, because that's kind of new for my awareness here.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of a big thing too, is that picky eating, and a lot of it too can be texture, sensory, that kind of thing. I know for me personally, I didn't even eat vegetables that were crunchy or anything until I did a legitimate class in how to desense myself to certain foods, because they would just make me gag, and so we see that a lot. Bluestone actually provides feeding therapy, you know, which is through occupational therapy, and so sometimes it might just be a swallowing thing, it might just be a sensory thing. It's kind of dependent, but a lot of time, you know, kids with autism or adults with autism, they like that routine. They like that familiarity. They like, you know, what they know it is. And so when you have a package that changes or a different brand, it's not the same. It's not what they're used to, and they don't want that. Yeah.
Flat out.
Yep. Flat out. No. Yep.
We almost blew up Costco because of it.
I believe that.
So how do you introduce change? I'm sorry. I'm curious about this.
You know, they work on that in ABA too. You know, just that, all of that, you know, maybe even brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, things like that. It's just kind of desensing them to that, getting them used to it. I know for us, we offer a haircut hut and a dentist office. And sometimes it starts as just getting that kiddo, you know, just walking past, being okay with that, and then maybe stepping into the room and then that kind of thing. So with food, it's, you know, maybe we start off, you know, I'm not clinically, you know, knowledgeable on this, so this is just from my point of view as like a parent, but getting them used to, you know, if the main goal is to get them to eat broccoli, right, we might start off with foods that are shaped like broccoli, that are safe foods, and then maybe we start with a different green food, and then we get our way to broccoli. So that kind of thing depends on whether it's texture, whether it's, you know, something like that. So
wow.
Yeah,
People I don't think they understand either, is that haircuts and dentist appointments, man, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've had it with our nephew where one dentist, they just said, we can't help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just sent you out, you know, for pediatric dentistry. And this other lady, we were just talking about this past weekend over dinner. It was a victory because he had to get the x-rays, and that's what set him off last time.
Yeah.
But she took her time. She showed him everything. This is what we're going to do, explained it.
Yeah.
And like a champ, he went through it. But you know, that next visit could be completely different though too. And getting a haircut. Ooh.
It's hard, and it's overwhelming too. And I think even as adults, doing something new is scary, right? Like it's just a scary thing. And so I know for me, I actually went through U of M and did a study with them, and talked about how, like, even pediatricians' offices, urgent cares, things like that, it's just not set up for kids that have difficulties and struggles with you know, it could even be something as lighting that triggers them into having a meltdown. And it's like, well, what are you upset about? And it's just something as lighting where we don't really necessarily take that into account. And a dentist office and things like that, that's loud. It's, you know, that specific lighting that they have that's overstimulating for these kids. And, you know, it's just not equipped for them. And it's super unfortunate and unfair, if I'm being honest.
Just the brush in your mouth, you know what I mean? The sensory of that and the noise. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot for me, but as an adult, I hate going to the dentist, you know? And so having that extra sensitivity to those things, you know, I can't even imagine. Yeah.
So do you see, you know, professionally, is this an increase, you know, is autism on the rise? Is it awareness? Is it? What are you seeing?
I think it is awareness. I think there's so many more resources, so much more acknowledgement as a whole from people of it, you know, and so I think there is a rise. I'll say for me, my wait list, I've got almost 100 kiddos on it trying to get into ABA. And you've got, I know last year we were quoting families at 2 to 3 years on that wait list, you know, and you go to get the diagnosis, and that alone is a 6 month to a year wait. And then you go, and there's a lot of places, if you don't have the autism diagnosis, they don't let you on their wait list. We're not like that. If you want to be proactive, go for it. Like, we love that. But you wait this year to get the diagnosis, and now you're waiting another year or two to even get that support. There's gotta be, something else and more for these families for support.
What is the stat? I think I heard that 1 out of 4 boys being born now are autistic. Is that?
I am unfamiliar with the specifics of that, but
see, I lied. I told you we know math. We're going to throw math right at you.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised by it. Yeah, because I think the chances are higher too with a brother than a sister. If the oldest has an autism diagnosis, if you have a boy, I believe it's a 25% higher chance that one will have autism as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we had a good sound check or programmer, he would have already pulled it up to tell us, but we don't, so we'll have to look for that fact later.
Yeah, I think, something that's controversial too is just, is it awareness? Is it something like that? And I really do think that's one of the biggest causes is that, back then it just wasn't recognized. There wasn't support. There weren't a bunch of ABA centers that, were focusing on emotional regulation appropriately and hands-off and things like that. And, now there is more support, there's more recognition, and I think that it's going to continue to grow in the way that it should, Yeah.
How about, through childhood, then into the public school system, how's the support, from ages, let's say 6 to 18?
Yeah, there's a lack of support, if I'm, being honest with you. There just really isn't. Public school doesn't recognize ABA, and so we have a lot of families that they do ABA and then they go to a school setting and there's just nothing there for them. They have their IEP or they have a parapro, but also schools are short-staffed too. They're not equipped for it. From personal experience, my daughter is being placed in the special education room, and it's only half days because they don't have the teachers and the support there to be able to give that. So now she's not getting that full day of school either. So from 6 to 18, there's really just a lack. I know Bluestone, like I had said previously, we purchased the building next door because what was happening is our kiddos get older, and then, a lot of places will age out at 6 or 7. And it's like, they still need that support. They still need that, and they deserve to have that. And so what Bluestone is doing is growing to be able to offer that to families and the community. Where there's just such a lack of it right now.
So what are the plans with the new building?
I don't know if I'm allowed to share all of that, but the goal will still have it be ABA. And, like I said, I think we're working on moving over from Bluestone Children's Center to Bluestone. We, in the fall, are looking at being able to actually offer that evaluation for the diagnosis, which is huge. There's so many plans that Courtney has for Bluestone as a whole, and I think that they're amazing as far as the building goes. Just being able to get some of these kiddos that deserve the support off of our wait list and offering those services to them. And I think we're really going to focus on those older kiddos and that 7 and up age range where there's just no other support, and seeing what we can do to give that to them and their families.
What about beyond 18?
Beyond 18, there's just almost no support. If you're looking at locally, for anybody that might listen to this, Living and Learning is awesome. They give opportunities to adults to, work on things and skills and find jobs and stuff like that, which is incredible. Bluestone personally works with Living and Learning, and so we offer that, hands-on experience and whatnot. But really there's not, like we kind of talked about previously, you get to 26 and even over 18, insurance stops covering anything, where those services are needed unless it's medically necessary, which at that point you're still just fighting it. Yeah. It's really unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. The school systems aren't set up for it. And it's so customized for each kiddo, as you like to call them.
Yeah.
And everybody along the way that it's tough, it's tough to expect that, and there needs to be, but we need to be looking further down the road. What do we do when they reach of age, of 18 or 26, because they need that. And so many of these guys can be careers for them. You know, there are opportunities if we can channel it the right way for them.
And finding them,
and give them some oversight.
There's a school in Northville that is, for, I don't know if it's adults, but, up to 18. That's an actual school for with an autism diagnosis. And it's like, sure, like there's one and that's incredible and that's amazing. But then there's one and now there's an 8-year wait list just to get more, and by the time they get to that point, you've either found something else or, you still need that. And there's just got to be a better way. And I think that's what, I had a lot of conversations with Courtney that was just like, I'm getting so many families of these ages 7 and up where they're aging out at other clinics, not graduating. They still need that support. They're just aging them out. And it's so unfair. And I said, what can we do for these kids? Because we need to do something. And so I think that's part of that building is to be able to expand, I'm doing quotation marks, but expand to be able to offer support for those families. Yeah.
Yeah. You're mission driven.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what makes us unique too is, although we're a business, we're not a franchise. We are a family owned company and we really are there for the kids and their families. Yeah.
Wow.
There's so many fine folks doing stuff like this, but the need is far outweighs the capacity.
And like I was telling you too, when you get that diagnosis as a parent, they pretty much hand you a folder and they say, okay, your child needs ABA, speech, OT, PT, maybe counseling, all of these things. And then they're just like, okay, and good luck finding that. And I get so many families that are like, I don't even know what ABA is. I don't know, does my insurance cover this? Is this insurance? Is this out of pocket? And, I spend a lot of time on touring these families, just sitting down and having that conversation with them and kind of guiding them, which is why I like what I do because it can come, from a personal experience. And I think just the biggest thing I tell my families, just give themselves some grace. It's a unique world to be in and try to get that support.
That's why we had you on because Les just thought ABA, somebody misspelled ABBA. He thought they were coming back and it was misspelled. So we're glad you cleared that up.
Might have been how it started. You never know.
Eurovision. Here we go.
Yeah. ABA is controversial in and of itself. And, there's
Why is that?
If you Google it, and I get so many families that come and they're like, we don't know. And, sometimes you see on there of horror stories of kids being locked in rooms or, they're picking them up if they're flopping, which is where they might be having a meltdown or just need a minute and they're laying down. And unfortunately, there are clinics that are not progressive in 2024 and that does pose for those red flags and things like that. And it is hard as a parent when you go on Google and you Google that and now there's just a million things that ABA is abusive, and unfortunately there are clinics that are not reputable. And I think that's why I like to boost Bluestone. I'll give a shout out to Spark Center for Autism in Farmington, which is what we've utilized ethically. My kiddos can't go to Bluestone, and so where they're really hands-on with that emotional regulation, validating those emotions and figuring it out from there. And like, you're frustrated instead of just being like, you're on the floor, let's go up. We're going, we're leaving right now. And just really validating them and helping them just understand their own emotion and then figuring out what we can do differently or, that kind of thing. It's, there's definitely red flags for people to look at when they're looking at other centers. We are very much so, if a family comes in and they want to watch their kids' session, we have what we call an open door policy. We have a lot of two-way mirrors where families want to come watch. It's not distracting their child and they can still come in and see. And there are places that don't allow that. And I, as a person, as a parent, as a whatever, like that's just not okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We require a tour to get onto our wait list. And the reason for that is so that you can come see what we're doing and meet and, answer your questions, and places that don't require that. And I think age caps, honestly, even if their building is not equipped to it, they should really then fix their building to be equipped for kiddos older than that, so yeah.
Wow.
Well, you guys do an amazing job over there,
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody at Bluestone Children's Center, because I know it's important work, but it's tough work, right? It's there's a love and a passion for what you do, but it is hard, and for parents out there that if they hear it, don't give up, man. There's
help out there.
There's help. It takes a lot of work, but there's help, and there's
trust
a
your
big,
gut, advocate for your kiddo. I think that's just really another big thing is advocate for them. Your voice matters, and getting them that support. And if you have a gut feeling that something is not right, trust your gut and go with it, and really be your child's biggest advocate and your own.
Micaela, you talked about support for organizations and fundraising for Bluestone. Are there anything coming up that we could do to help out, or if somebody wanted to help out?
Yeah, we actually do multiple fundraisers throughout the year. We have our fun FUN raisers that we do, which are just mainly for the community, for families to be able to have somewhere sensory friendly while we raise money. But our biggest one is we have our 4th annual golf outing, and that one is on September 14th from 8 to 5 at Fellows Creek Golf Course. If you head onto our Facebook page, we're promoting that right now for Bluestone Voices for Autism. And essentially what we do is what we make from those, we give back to families to help pay for, those services, speech, OT, PT, ABA.
Hold on, say that Facebook page again.
Yeah, Bluestone Voices for Autism. If you are a family, too, that is looking to get a scholarship, you do not have to be affiliated with Bluestone. We've given away scholarships to over 14 clinics in Michigan and over $150,000 in scholarships as well. We have our July Jamboree, which is going to be located at Bluestone Children's Center. That's in July, and that's kind of like a fun carnival that's sensory friendly. We do a Halloween event, all of that. So anybody that wants to sponsor any of those, come as a golfer, anything like that. Anybody wants to volunteer, we'll take anything and give it back to those families. Yeah.
Sounds like a great event.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, we really appreciate you coming in. I mean, great education.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Like I said, I'm not a clinician, so I only know what I know as a parent and then, insurance stuff. But, I really do appreciate you guys having me on and kind of highlighting autism as a whole. I do think that it's important.
Well, you have an open invitation anytime. If there's something we should know, you need to get a hold of us.
Well, I appreciate that.
Let's get on and start talking about it.
Yeah.
So since you brought up ABBA, we usually close by, what's your favorite bourbon, but what's your favorite ABBA song?
I don't know. I don't think that I have one.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song?
Oh, it can't be Dancing Queen?
That's the one I was going to
that's got to be everybody's.
Yeah.
Really anything Miley Cyrus, believe it or not. You know what? That might make me very millennial, but I'm going to roll with it.
I just heard a little bit of trivia. You know who her godmother is?
Yeah, it's Dolly Parton. Please.
Was I the only one who didn't know that?
Probably. She does a lot with her. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
All right. Well, good. We'll bring Dolly Parton. Oh, no. Miley Cyrus theme music.
You know what?
Next time you visit.
So all the credibility we just built up, you just killed it.
Yeah, you just killed it. Just
you know what?
crushed it.
I love it, though. We get that connection with Miley Cyrus. We get in with Dolly Parton. There you go.
Yep. Came in like a crushing ball, right?
Wrecking ball.
Or whatever. I'm out. Done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Micaela.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Micaela. Bye.